Ah, Turbo. Remember Turbo? Did you watch this movie from October 2013? You probably didn't watch this movie. I remember the adverts, but just never really got into it. Huh. I wonder why. This is probably the worst of all the DreamWorks films for just being so flat. It's a snail that goes fast, and that's as deep as it'll get. So of course we're lighting it up for our terrible series today. Let's get into it. We begin right down on the racetrack with the tension of any good race scene, kinda like Cars, just 7 years later. Oh wait, was this hopping on the coattails of Cars 2? Ooh. Anyway, in comes our snail, Theo. Actually, quite endearingly adding himself like it's all a projection behind him. He's watching and sticking, of course, on the TV. He's not actually a fast snail yet, he just has the dreams to be one. And his biggest idol...
No dream too big, no dreamer
too small.
Guy Garnier, the totally not bad guy you've seen idolized in tropes so many times before. And he was voiced by Bill Hader? Well, I guess everyone has to reach their lowest somewhere. Wait, what? The main snail is Ryan Reynolds? The actor? Wait, hold on. So this is all like the predecessor to those quippy Ryan Reynolds movies? Oh, I can't wait to see where all this goes.
that separates the ordinary.
What is it?
Money! It's money, you know, sponsors. Nothing to really do with snails at all, to be honest.
So Theo is an ordinary snail, and his friend Chet here likes to remind him of that fact. But screw him, it's time for a sprint at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's the plot of Ratatouille with a bit more arrogance than frustration.
Yes! 17 minutes! That's a new record!
There's no way a movie with characters at this pace possibly could be watchable, or this is about to be real inconsistent. And surely doing something like rolling is gonna be way faster, which is the whole point of the record, right? Oh no, there's apparently a caveat for that one.
We've been over this. I don't tuck and roll.
Theo is somehow too full of pride to actually do the very thing that would speed him up.
You know, cars can tuck and roll too.
So now it's the next day. Let's see an ordinary day. Theo joins the slow haul over to the morning meeting as everyone eyes up the tomatoes of the day. And Theo's role is to handle all the overripe slush. Cue the montage of squish. That I could admittedly see myself enjoying as a kid a little, though it's not hilarious. Theo then sets himself off in a race against a ripe tomato before losing to it and becoming a laughingstock. Truly a tragedy of a character who's been born with limitations. I wonder what nuanced messaging this movie plans to provide to its kids in the audience. Chet is back again to talk some sense into Theo to drop all this racing malarkey, as it's naturally just gonna make him look like a fool. You know, maybe growing up is becoming a bit of a Chet. How depressing. And then comes in the plotline of Sid from Toy Story 1. There's a kid in the garden that's a danger to them all, finding joy in crushing shells with his little tricycle. But he just passes by unknowingly this time. What an exciting plug of a scene. So Theo naturally has learned nothing, always dreaming to push the boundary, now drinking directly from Garnier's sponsored fizzy drink.
Where would he have even gotten that?
And just on the cusp of learning the gospel words from Garnier's latest interview, Theo destroys his TV with the drink, trying desperately to put it together, only to fail. Though I must say, I really enjoyed the character design work that was put into the snail character design, with their protruding eyes being like hands that they can mash against surfaces in a tantrum and all that. The animators and director are really pushing for as much as they can with the prompt. And the very next day, drama ensues.
Big Red!
The perfect tomato finally falls out onto the grasslands on Gardener Day, soon to be lost to the lawnmower itself. It's a loss for all the snails who give up immediately. But keeping Garnier's last words in mind, Theo goes for one final dash.
Take a chance and risk it all.
Risking it all or losing in cowardice. It's a race to define him. Grass blades flying past, American jets flying overhead. All sorts of imagery to really bring us into Theo's head in a fantastical visual display, only to have it literally ripped apart as the lawnmower comes to, and Theo is luckily blasted to the side by a hose. With one final morph transition with the lawnmower and Garnier, that was actually really well done. A moment for Theo to finally come to his sad realization, all presented with some fantastic animation and direction. Wait, am I enjoying this movie? Or is this maybe just gonna be the best bit? Theo is now depressed, brooding in the nighttime streets way beyond his garden grounds, choosing to overlook the city one last time. Oh no, just the motorways of American society. Hey, is this just one big propaganda for how car crazy your country is? Says a lot when only a snail romanticizes this.
And it's at this point that understandably Theo goes into a swearing rage, or so I would presume.
Anyway, mid-brood, a lorry somehow sees and beeps him before sweeping him into traffic. Rest in peace, little snail. He's slathered onto the front of a car and given the race treatment firsthand. Wow, dude must have some good grip to still be hanging on. But soon enough, he slapped into the engine itself and somehow isn't set alight that instant. Man, animations really like mechanics, huh? Anyway, this driver has a nitro boost, which Theo is soon entirely engulfed in, and with that, the very molecular structure of his being is changed, and his red blood cells turn into spinning wheels? What is this madness? My years of education were wasted if this is how it works. And Theo is ejected from it all. Now he has powers. A real comic book origin story. And oh, so stupid. Unless, has someone actually tried this on a snail before?
Oh, like wearing a hat made out of feet.
Wow, this really is a Ryan Reynolds prequel movie. He hasn't quite perfected his similes just yet, but he'll get there.
A crime-fighting shit-swizzler.
It's time for another boring morning meeting, which a not at all subtle hungover Theo promptly interrupts with...
That's copyrighted. I can't play anymore.
Nature is a marvelous thing, and somehow still not coming to terms with what's happening, despite a whole other scene with headlight powers. How high were the writers when conceptualizing this? Eventually, Theo comes to realize himself once speeding away in bursts from totally not Sid.
Huh?
Super speed. And a fun little action scene that ends with him speeding along Sid's tires to throw him off? That's actually quite creative. But of course, it can't be all rainbows and sunshine yet, as Theo now crashes said tricycle right through the tomato farm, and everyone's mad. Will Theo ever explain himself and his obvious powers? No. Because it's that frustrating plotline of miscommunications, of course. And this is so severe this time that Theo is fired, and so is Chet. Everyone hates Theo, and there's no time to explain.
Drag down with your sinking ship.
And then Chet gets eaten. What a sad tale for him. It's Theo's first prompt, speeding towards the crows to try and save him. Oh wait, it's 3 crows now. We need that overkill for some stakes. And Theo does so by jumping in Chet's place last minute and doing his speedy thing, I guess. And Chet's freaking out. Time for the real plot to settle in, as they're both kidnapped by this taco guy. Where is this going? And taking us to a new location, the Starlight Plaza? Where they're putting on a snail race. Isn't this like exactly Theo's kind of vibe? You'd think he'd be ecstatic to see other people thinking like him, but no, not really. He similarly dislikes them too. What an awful protagonist. So of course, Theo storms the competition with his powers, ready for humans to see and all. Of course, Chet, being the grounded friend, is taking every step along the way to continue to push Theo down at every turn, even though he does have the powers to support his dreams now. Is this a normal, nuanced take? Is this a good character or not? And Taco Guy now wants to push this speedy snail for their own taco merchandising. Another one of his schemes he brings to his brother. The parallels between these two and these two are pretty heavy-handed, and understandably, it's a weird argument to push for racing snails as a business. Where is this plot going?
Welcome to Halfway. Here's your reminder to subscribe.
But with them asleep, it's time to see the rest of the gang. Huh? This is also a star-studded cast? You got Snoop Dogg in there, you got Maya Rudolph as Bert, Ben Schwartz back in the day, and Samuel L. Jackson up front and center? They really pulled out all the stops on this one. And yet, despite meeting people with the very same racing dreams and similar inabilities, Theo looks down on them like total schmucks, choosing never to get along with anybody because now he feels he has a high horse to talk from actually having powers. Literally spitting on the kind of person he was just one day ago. And we're meant to be rooting for this guy? So they pit him in a race against them, except giving them the advantage of snowboarding down some wires? That's pretty creative, if only it wasn't just one gimmick. And with Theo not quite knowing a jump is needed, he comes in last. And now the others have proved to themselves that they too can do fast. Now Theo respects them.
That sounds like a healthy relationship to me.
Taco Guy, of course, has started his mission of snail marketing. But it's not going too well. Also another star-studded cast in the past, this guy is Micheal Pena, the goofy friend from Ant-Man who always steals the show there. Wow, he existed in 2013? Other services at this little corner strip is a mechanic, vehicular toys, and pedicure parlor along with the taco place. What? And the old lady is voiced by Ken Jeong? What is this movie? This is a rundown little junction of local businesses, presumably shot down by the wider corporate world, but of course any commentary on supporting small businesses isn't really on the agenda of this movie. Just fast snail. It's a slow day for them overall.
She's a cutie. Women.
What?
And eventually they come up with a bright idea to satisfying both of their dreams by signing up for the Indy 500, the big racing competition, of course. The grounded brother is, of course, against it as it's a $20,000 entry fee for a snail. And Shed is similarly reserved because, and they try and pull that sort of dialogue trick where two sets of two characters are having the same conversation, but I don't know, it just doesn't really roll off the tongue as well as, well, Shrek 2 is the only example that comes to mind, but you get the idea.
Don't want to be
I at least really like the loose handheld camera for this scene. I like the energy of it. So Taco Guy the next day pitches it to the rest of the merchants, and that $20,000 is needed. And no one agrees, even though they do literally have a super-powered snail. But for marketing business, yeah, I can see why it wouldn't really come together. But come on! Super-powered snail! The other snails then roll in some audience, hijacking a tour bus?
Next stop is the Starlight Plaza.
Stop it! I can only get whiplash so many times from the same damn movie.
Before breaking it down on site for passengers to become customers. What a wild film premise. Do they do this regularly, or is this the first time? Either way, it's wild. And for once, everybody has a good business day, and the super snail was seen.
We had a good day. We sold a few extra tacos.
Yeah, actually, maybe it is. Going super greedy for one of the biggest racing audiences may actually just be more corporate greed again, continuing the cycle of shooting down local, humble businesses. But it convinces the rest, who now put together that $20,000. Wait, but huh? So they took the taco money, but I thought all the friends paid, or did they just rob the guy and call it a good deed? Either way, it's time for a journey to Indianapolis. The race is going on, and Theo is officially dubbed Turbo, not just by himself, but communicated to the humans too. Do they not question that they know English any further? And while commuting in the truck, every merchant assists their own talents into building the image of Turbo. Toy guy sticks on some gear, manicure lady paints up his shell, and the actual mechanic, well, this is more of a biological superpower, so I guess she just kind of sits to the side and watches. But it's cool. Finally, the soon-to-be iconic franchise runner Turbo has come to be, outspeeding even the taco truck. And Chet, of course, is still shooting down Turbo at every opportunity. And here we are.
that I'd like to enter into the race.
Oh, so they just gathered the money and are now gonna wing it on site? God, what an idiot of a character we're supposed to be following.
Let go! There's no way to treat a guy with glasses!
Yeah, I kinda expected that. All for some glasses gags? It really wasn't worth it, guys. So instead, they go to confront the man of the hour himself, Guy Garnier, getting laughed at just like everybody else before.
Whoa! That snail is foul!
Jesus Christ, is this really meant to be a child?
Sounds like a fully grown man. But still, Turbo has shocked the crowd, going fast enough to be accepted in and becoming a viral video that goes off on the internet like crazy.
It's a miracle of nature!
What? Hey, it seems like they actually understand what makes a viral video here. Not necessarily the content, but the reaction alongside it. It's the boy that makes it viral, not the snail. pretty cool for 2013. If it was a modern movie, it'd add the train boy Francis angle. At least they got the Morty voice down. Whoa! There were some smart people behind this team. Just a shame the plot is all cliches and safety. And so it's decided in an announcement whether the snail is in fact going to race for this genuinely official racing competition. Of course they let the snail in. And so the night before the big event, you'll never guess what twist comes out. Guy Garnier is actually bad. Wow.
They'll be watching me win.
Really only ever craving the limelight at every opportunity, if that wasn't already clear enough from his recent appearances. Finally ending on...
Crawl home, Garden Snail.
But wait, isn't that the exact opposite of what you want? Since a snail being there puts all eyes on you? Whatever. And with your classic build-up from every facet of characters, it's time for the race to finally begin. And Turbo, without at all training his speed or even testing the limits of it, dives in headfirst into the race and keeps up at a steady pace to the cars.
We've had Ratatouille and Toy Story and I guess A Bug's Life as well, and now it's just time for the cars part of the plotline.
Does it at all cover the part where Turbo has finally bitten off more than he can chew, or has been arrogantly coasting along with expectations without putting in the real effort to improve himself? No. In fact, he's doing quite well. Everything just goes right for him because he's gifted now, and thus more valuable than every other character. Is there no such thing as friction in this universe, or is the underbelly of Turbo just producing an ungodly amount of ooze to compromise? Come on, internet. If the Cars fandom can overthink how Cars works, I want to see the same brain pickings happening on this film. There's a pit stop scene halfway through that's way too long for the logistics of a race, but sure. Also, how had none of the human characters thought ahead on how to actually handle all this extra race business? But anyway, the film continues, with Turbo coming to one big realization: to go under the cars. And that's it. Now he's empowered. He can use those headlights, and, you know, he's just faster than all the cars effortlessly to go under them. Or sometimes on the wall. That's quite creative for the snail logic, I guess.
That's my brother right there! That's the back of his head!
See, even the Taco brother is impressed. And after some pretty illegal moves, I would have assumed, Turbo is all set to take the lead if it wasn't for one thing.
Here we go.
I sure hope Garnier won't do something evil and malicious. Spoilers, he does. It's the hint of an element of stakes here. Turbo has lost his powers, just as Chet was afraid of.
You wake up tomorrow, and your powers are gone.
Everything seemingly lost and no one able to help. Perhaps it's time to call it quits.
No, it's not.
Never mind. If there's one thing Turbo does have, it's unfaltering arrogance. Some could call it determination, but let's be honest here. He goes for one last mad dash, bringing about that imagery of tomatoes and grade blasts and lawnmower before running behind Garnier one final time. Everything he's learned up to now coming to a head. What has he learned this whole time? Oh right, jump up on a tire, check. Use the walls, that's a recent one, check. And fly overhead like that one time Samuel L. Jackson did it. Yeah, I think that's good enough for all the callbacks. And with a little extra time, Turbo preps for the final sprint, now in first place. Garnier also risking it all out in the plastic, a testament to his determination too, before crashing in a pile-up right near the end. Disaster on the tracks and the maximum drama. I actually don't mind this. But it's time for the real race here. The last of Turbo's power has faded, and he's exactly the same distance as that one 17-minute sprint from the last time. Nice. And at the same time, Garnier has the same cruel needing to drag his car with him too. Kind of a cool, scaled-down version of events. I like it. Wait, are those the same three crows from earlier? They seriously tailed all the way to Indianapolis for this? They're more ravenous than the seagulls in Brighton. And of course, Garnier is trying to sabotage too, leading to Turbo sometimes jumping to the side at a way faster rate than forwards. Turbo, what are you doing? If you have the ability to leap sideways, why don't you just do it like Zelda speedruns and just keep doing that over and over again? God, for a racer, you sure are slow with your rules. But he takes on at least one piece of pride.
Tuck and roll!
Finally making that final distance that wins him the race. Does it bring everyone the answers of their dreams in a very rushed and sudden manner? Yup. Now, suddenly, with little merchandising on the actual day of the race, That Starlight Strip is the talk of town. Business is booming on all fronts and everyone's here to see the snail race, even if Turbo no longer has the powers. Yeah, right, because that's how the public would react. All ending off with a normal, small-scale snail race with all the old family involved and well. And with new upgrades, even for Chet, it's time for one final race. A freeze frame like those old high school film endings. And that was Turbo. Was it god-awful? No. But it is somehow both incredibly dull and boring with its cliche fest, and just wildly chaotic. Somehow a bonkers movie that's totally forgettable, and definitely the lowest of DreamWorks' productions. Though I must admit, I liked more things than I expected. Though the experience is much better if you pretend they're talking about drugs the entire time.
With my brains and your speed.
Anyway, that's all from me.